What happens when the parent is doing their work and the parent-adult-child relationship is still complicated? That's what I want to talk about this morning. Hi from my backyard. I got this really moving email this morning, and I wanted to respond to her right away, but I'll respond as a video because it probably impacts more of us than we realize, especially if we're coming to this work with our own mother wounds, our own unhelpful, outdated programming. And one of those bits of outdated programming might be that if you learned early on that being a good child, being a good daughter meant that you're trying harder, it meant smoothing conflict, it meant pretzeling or revolving around someone else, then when you're hitting this space in your relationship with your adult child that's complicated, that can hit on deep wounds, that can create shame spirals, that can create like a and I want to name something, which is even when we've done our work, that doesn't mean that our children don't have their own journeys, their own processes, their own defensiveness, their own trauma, their own worldviews. And so it's this complicated thing because from my perspective, the river of nurturance flows downward, meaning as the parent, in my perspective, we still hold the space, we hold the love, we hold our own selves. If we're feeling defensive or pinged by our child's reaction, we work that through with ourselves or with a coach or with a therapist or with a dear friend. And then we show up with groundedness and centeredness and strength for our kids. We want to say, tell me more about that, or I understand. And also, it's a co-created relationship, meaning you may choose a little bit of distance, they may choose a little distance, and it doesn't make either of you bad or wrong or terrible. It just means human relationships are super complicated. And so for the person that emailed me, I'm going to be giving her a very specific and customized response. But in general, I want to name that whether or not in this moment the relationship feels in flow, it is not a measure of your worth. It is not a measure of their worth. And it's so hard to hold the both and not get into our own shame spirals, our own defensiveness. And what's so important is that we can hold the love and the space for ourselves, for them, even when a relationship is complicated. So this is obviously a really complex topic, especially for those of us who have had this healing fantasy that what if only my mother had done her work? What would my life look like? And if you're faced with a complicated parent-adult-child relationship, that can feel such a mind-eff. And so for today, I'd like to invite you to have some grace for yourself